Easily one of the most anticipated shows of the summer 2022 anime season for me is Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer. Now, please don't shut off this video just based on that title alone, because there's a lot of reasons to be really excited for this series and hope that there's something here that's going to be really incredible. Why I'm building this up is because there was a series a while back called Planet With that got an anime adaptation. I watched it and I thoroughly loved that show. The writer's ability to take something that seems very childish and very dumb and then kind of morph it into something extremely fascinating, I think is where this writer really shines. And although Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer is one of their previous writings, I really do hope that that skill that they had in Planet With is something that will be existing in Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer as well. But as I built up my excitement and jumped right into the first episode, I am now here to give my thoughts on Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer based on the first episode so far, so let's jump into it. Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer opens up with a guy named Yuhi Amamiya. And this is a standard guy that's going to school, and at some point he wakes up one morning to find a lizard on his lap. And as he's staring at this lizard, the silence is broken by the lizard claiming that he has been chosen, that he is a lizard knight, and he must go find the princess before this evil mage does and protect her. But Yuhi's response is to pick up the lizard and chuck it out the window, which he does several times as this lizard keeps coming back to him and saying, look, you need to listen to me. The princess is in danger. The world is in danger. You need to become the lizard knight, protect the princess, and save the world. But again, he just keeps chucking the lizard. And he just kind of ignores it. He thinks there's something wrong with him. Maybe I hit my head or something. Something isn't right, but this lizard keeps following him everywhere. And all the while, the lizard keeps telling him, you need to train, there's these things that you have. He shows him how he can actually manipulate objects. He has this telekinesis ability. It's this ability that whatever's within this little bubble, he's able to control physically. So if he wanted to, he could put it under his feet and thus be able to glide, or he's able to pick up things, or blow up the skirt of his teacher as he does at some point. But like I said, the entire time, Yuhi's like, no, I don't have anything to do with this. I don't want to have anything to do with this. You're just sending me out to a battle. Even if you are real, you're just wanting me to go out on the battlefield and die for a sake that I don't even understand. I don't even know if any of this is true. And again, I don't know if this is something just in my head. Well, this all comes to reality at some point when he goes out and he feels something. He feels a dread. And the lizard tells him to run. This is one of the enemy. You need to run because you, as a lizard knight, which apparently is the weakest, cannot fight one of these things alone. You must run. So he keeps running until eventually he becomes exhausted. And this creature, this weird, I don't know, human standing fish thing, finally shows up and attacks him. And as he's nearly about to die, this girl shows up, his neighbor. This girl shows up and punches the thing with one hit and knocks it out. Well, the lizard's extremely excited at this point. This is the princess. This girl right here is actually the princess. She's wearing the ring that signifies that she has within her the spirit of this princess. And this girl, his neighbor, Samidare, she's kind of in the same boat as Yuhi. At some point, they told him this is what she had to do, and she's like, that's weird. I felt a calling to it, so I figured, okay, I might as well do it. But this is where things get a little more interesting. Yuhi, at this point, realizes he needs to start training a little bit. He doesn't really quite get it because his telekinesis powers is almost as if he's using his own physical strength, so he needs to build up stamina. But even still, he doesn't really feel like he wants to do this. And it all leads up to this one point where he ends up running into Samidare at school, and she leads him up to the roof. The lizard said, no, you shouldn't show him at this point. We can't trust him quite yet. You shouldn't show him. But she trusts him, and she brings him up to the roof, and she points out this thing. You can see this, right? And the lizard says, yes, you'll be able to see it because you'll only see it if you know it's there. And sure enough, it's this gigantic hammer, what they call the Biscuit Hammer, which is this thing that will eventually hit the earth and completely shatter it. And it's at this point that this girl, Asahina, says, look, I want you to become my knight, and I want to trust you. And so she falls off the side of the roof, and he quickly rushes down there, grabs her, and uses telekinesis to keep them from dying. He says, what are you doing? You're nuts. She's like, I trusted you. I knew that you were going to save me, and I want you to trust me now because I want you to become my knight, as I'm going to stop this because I don't want anybody else to destroy the world before me. Or at least that's what she's kind of implying. And I think the synopsis implies that too. It's just the wording was a little weird, but I believe what she's implying here is that I'm going to stop this thing. I want you to help me. We're going to trust each other with our lives. And then once I save the world, I'm going to crush it. And it seems like Yuhi's so wrapped up in her, I guess her enthusiasm and the way that she speaks that he trusts her. Like, yes, I'll do it. All right. Almost like he gets wrapped up in her charisma. So that's how it kind of starts out. That's how we open up Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer, which again, like I said, it's a very weird start for sure, but it was kind of funny. I mean, honestly, what I'm getting from this first episode is almost like a magical girl feel to it. This idea of the chosen warriors that become powerful, that will go out and save the world from the evil mage. And yes, there's also this pinnacle, this image of a queen, this princess that must be protected, the core of the fight itself. But again, having almost this twist to the idea of having the main character not wanting to have anything to do with it. I mean, like I said, technically, eventually he does agree to it just based on wanting to help the princess because he's wrapped up in her charisma. He claims that she's like the Lucifer, and I guess it's kind of the credit of the title itself is this idea that somebody that is a figure that is able to kind of get people to wrap around their finger. Kind of insinuating that Samidare Asahina has the ability to change people's minds, that she's able to manipulate people in some way. And again, technically, playing into the idea that she's not all right in the head, that she technically does want to destroy the world herself. She says something like, I don't want that to hit the earth before my own fists hit the earth. Again, implying this idea that I will rupture it before that does. But again, I got a kick out of this episode already just because Yuhi Amamiya isn't really into this. He doesn't want to have anything to do with it. Again, he makes good points in the idea that I'm not a fighter. Why did you choose me? I don't want to fight for you. You're sending me out on the battlefield to die. What gain do I have in it? But additionally, this is where I get into my excitement for the series despite only watching one single episode. And this is kind of the same feeling that I got when I watched Planet With. When Planet With opens up, it has a feeling like you're following the bad guy. Here's a guy that's, living with some maid and a big gigantic cat. And he gets inside this suit that basically is created by the cat eating him. He goes out into the battlefield and there's this invading presence that's coming in. These people are fighting against it and he attacks the people that are protecting the people. It always had this feeling like, why am I following the bad guy? This doesn't make sense. But what Planet With showed me is that despite the fact that you think that you're following the bad guy, or despite the fact that you think it makes you seem like everybody's selfish or cruel, eventually they'll show what is behind everything. And that's what I'm already kind of getting excited about when I'm watching this series. What will we end up finding out about Samidare? Is the princess what she seems to be? Technically, she has a spirit within inside of her. Is that what the spirit wants, or is that just what the human that she's residing in wants? Additionally, what is the Biscuit Hammer? Who is the evil mage? Are they going to be good guys, not necessarily bad guys? And again, because of my mentality from coming out of Planet With the way that I did, I will be questioning everything as the show goes along. And yes, it could turn out to be this was his first work, and everything is as it seems, and it's super cheesy, but based on how I know this writer does with its characters and its plot lines, it will shift. It will definitely shift at some point. As Planet With was kind of like a layers of onions, and as you peel it away, you see that nothing is as it seems. And then you peel again, you go, no, it's still not as it seems. And then you peel again, no, it's still not as it seems. And that's what has me really excited for the show. But I'm getting too much into Planet With. Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer. This first episode I really did enjoy based on the chemistry. Now, again, everything else is going to probably shift as the episodes go along if what I believe comes to fruition. But what we get from this first episode is really good comedy, timing, and chemistry. Again, Yuhi's very combative to this lizard. At the same time, the lizard really wants him to listen to him, and it's Kendra Suda, which really has me excited. At the same time, you have these moments like where he just chucks the lizard out the window, and he looks over, and the neighbor's standing there, and she's like, oh, okay, you just did that. Which is because she probably knew who it was. And additionally, having those goofy moments like him using the telekinesis power to flip up a skirt, because why not? He's very selfish, and I think that creates a really cool dynamic to the duty-bound lizard that's always kind of attached to him. And technically, I'm already getting a huge kick out of Asahina, as she's very quirky. Again, she wants to take over the world so she can destroy it, but also having these little interactions like with her sister where she's like, no, he can't go anywhere. We can't stay apart from each other because he's my knight and I'm the princess. And that just completely gets taken out of context. Well, it's technically in context, but it's good so far. It's got the good pacing. It's got the good timing. It's got the comedic beats. It's got some simple chemistry put in there. And as well, having this very kind of dark side to a main character. There was also some point in which they kind of out of their way just had this very abrupt vision of Yuhi getting words from his grandfather saying not to make allies because they'll stab you in the back, don't make enemies because they'll stab you in the stomach. It felt very out of place, by the way, but at the same time, it does imply this idea that his grandfather might be something special or something significant to the story, possibly, or the fact that his grandfather at least instilled upon him never to trust others, which could come into play later on. And is probably why he spent an entire episode of him saying, no, I don't want to have anything to do with this. I also got a kick by the fact that all this stuff's being revealed, and she's talking about how she has a spirit within her, and yes, that this lizard's all happy that he sees the princess, and then at some point Yuhi, out of all that conversation's like, what's with the Kansai dialect? She's like, is that what's bothering you? It's got good comedic beats. I like it. Yeah, the bunch of moles comment about the skirt flying up. It's got some good moments so far. I'll be very curious to see how they handle the other knights besides the lizard one. They have Invincible, Hreskeverglurg, I don't know how to pronounce that, and Unicorn, and they're apparently supposed to be a lot more stronger. And that makes me believe that what's going to happen is that Yuhi is going to end up following Asahina, and then what's going to happen is that the other ones aren't going to be caught by her charisma, and they're going to become enemies of the princess, and Amamiya Yuhi is going to have to fight them. But that's kind of my prediction that I'm going, because like I said, just based on my knowledge about how this writer likes to twist characters, and what's the hero is never necessarily the hero, and what's the enemy is not always necessarily enemy, and this writer's really good at changing characters. Characters at some point seem like the bad guy become the good guy, and the good guy sometimes becomes somewhere in the middle. It's never really, it's very hard to tell. These characters are never, at least with Planet With, his characters are never really black and white. It's never this or that. My only pause I have for this show so far is that it's done by Studio Naz. Now, first episode was okay. There was a few parts in it like, that could have used more animation, but that's fine. I guess that's better than CGI. It's always better than CGI. But I am concerned about the future of the show because of Naz. Because Naz always kind of starts decent, and then they just fall off, like, real hard. Like, within the first few episodes, suddenly, boom, we just don't have any budget anymore. So I hope this will be the first time that Naz holds it together. If not, that's going to be probably a huge problem with the series. But at the same time, if the story is good enough, like my experience with Planet With, I'm still excited for it, and I cannot wait for more. So I will most likely do episode-by-episode impressions of this series as it goes along, depending on if the second episode really hits like I'm hoping it will. But we'll see. But I hope you guys enjoy this video. As always, if you did, make sure to hit that like button down below. Comment. Let me know if you're going to be checking out the series. Let me know if you watched Planet With. If you did not watch Planet With, please go watch it. But let me know if you watched Planet With and if that makes you excited for this series. Additionally, if you're not already, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you get all my content. I do first impressions, news, reviews. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support us more, we have a Patreon link and a tips link in the description below. We also have a super thanks button down there where you can support us directly through YouTube. I definitely appreciate everybody that does. And y'all take care.